Oh man, I love that music, Jeff. I love that music. It always gets me in a hype mood. It always gets me. You guys should see me backstage. I'm like,
well, we don't have to see backstage. You're doing it right now on camera.
Right. But unfortunately, that's not what we're here for. We are here to have people talk Schmoedown. We had a very interesting week last week. We probably had arguably the best match we've ever seen in the Schmoedown, which we will have these competitors. Actually, all 4 of them are Schmoedown competitors now. So it's going to be very interesting to hear their thoughts. How are you feeling tonight's going to go?
I am thinking that tonight will go, at the very least, it'll be interesting. We normally have 3 competitors. Tonight we happen to have 4. So we're going to just kind of see how it goes, because it gets a little chaotic sometimes. And yes, that's right, Lacey. What in fact is a Schmoedown? Well, a Schmoedown is a thing where people yell at each other while also giving points. So speaking of that, why don't we actually just start introducing the people that are on today? Yep.
Introducing first. She had her first match last week. She's from the Star Wars Newsnet, the Resistance broadcast, the one and only Lacey GILLERAN.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How's it going with you?
Good. I'm excited to, I feel like I've been talking about Schmoedown a lot, so I feel like I'm prepared for this.
Yeah,
prepared
I think it's gonna go great. It's just like friends sitting at a bar talking Schmoedown, except there are 2 people that are scoring you and judging.
And there's no wings. Why aren't there any wings?
Because I
could order you some.
That would be good. Yeah, wings would be pretty great right now.
They would be.
Introducing our next contestant is a faction mate of Lacey GILLERAN. He's just known as the Major. We have Thomas Harper.
Hello there. You saved yourself. You said you don't like wings, and I almost bailed on this whole thing and then sent a message to give you negative points because
I'm out.
That's blasphemy where I come from.
I don't think anyone said they don't like wings. She said, where are the wings? She wants wings. I don't know.
Oh,
I love boneless, though. I don't like bone-in.
Boneless or a little...
Boneless is chicken nuggets.
I guess that's what I like then.
Listen. If anybody is the authority on wings here, it's the person who served as a connoisseur of wings as a waiter at Buffalo Wild Wings.
I thought you were about to say Hooters. I was like, yes.
Well, I did apply, but they weren't interested, unfortunately.
Those orange shorts did not look as good as you'd think. That's
no. They one vomited, I think, and then that was about the end of the interview. So
right, absolutely.
Yeah, and it looks like the chat is pretty split. We got Zach saying boneless. Shug is saying boneless is not even wings.
Okay, here's the thing.
We've already lit off the debate.
I have a thing about eating food with my hands. Like, it really bothers me. Like ribs, wings. I don't know why. I just do. So boneless, at least I can eat them with fork knife.
Because it gets really messy. It gets like all over your fingers, and
it's like sand. It gets coarse and gets everywhere.
Of course, it gets everywhere.
All right, who's making the first Star Wars joke of the night? It has to be.
Well, we both made it at the same time. We both thought of it. That's how crazy we are. We were both like sand.
Let's introduce our next 2 competitors since they're sharing the same screen. One from the Stars, one from the Quirky Mercs. Welcome to Schmoe Me The Wings. It is Sabrina Ramirez and Brandon Hanna.
AKA the best looking couple you've ever seen.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. 1 point for Lacey. We'll start off with that one. I like that argument.
The den is up.
Unfortunately, it was out of the round, but we can take that into consideration down the line.
Yeah. Also, I'm a boneless person 100%.
Yes.
I just want like my big chicken nuggets, basically.
It's gonna be one big civil war.
Meanwhile, here we go with another bad take for Dom.
Wow. Are you okay, Dom? Do you need a hug? It's just
I would expect to walk into a restaurant and find Dom eating a Snickers bar with a fork and knife, a la Seinfeld.
What do you use? Your hand?
No. Dom doesn't do that. Dom's like, it is Snickers, but it is the ice cream Snickers bar, so he uses a spoon.
Okay, that's fair.
Or you know what? We'll split the difference. It is a spork. It is plastic, but it gets the job done. That's what's important.
Right, I love me a good spork.
Okay.
Welcome to
Well,
Schmoe Me The
We've
Money.
gone-
So dumbfounded
We've already
by
derailed
that
this. And
statement.
we're,
Wow, can't wait to get this one going.
This is
Yeah,
going to be
absolutely.
fantastic. So for
Right.
those of you that have not watched this show, what we do is we give each contestant a prompt on a Schmoedown match. They get, normally it's 90 seconds, but this week we're doing 60 seconds. They basically get to tell their answer or say whether they agree or not. Each competitor does that by themselves, 60 seconds. Then we have an open discussion where everyone can talk at once. And sometimes it gets a little chaotic, sometimes not so much. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And me and Jeff get to judge them as I rearrange this. So they'll be able to see their time, so they'll know if they can take more time or if they need to rush. So, and then we'll do 4 rounds. And after the 4th round, the top 2 competitors, this could get a little awkward after round 4 because we have 2 people on the same screen. That could get a little awkward, just saying.
Hey, all that matters is if they both win or if they both lose. That's so, just goals for that. That's the sort of
Exactly.
relationship goals you should have. Win
We take
together,
the
lose
W
together.
for the household.
So,
Losing
and
is
then, yeah, those 2 competitors, same thing. They will get a prompt based on a match, and the winner gets a thumbs up. They get a thumbs up from me, which means so much.
All I want.
It's
a
symbolic.
hearty handshake.
It's symbolic.
It's a good day
That's-
when I
that's
get
what
a
it is.
thumbs up from Buck.
So, moving on to our first topic. It was the first match on Friday. We had Janine the Machine versus Jader Paramo. So going into this match, a lot of the fans were not very high on Janine. A lot of them, for some reason, go after her a little bit more harshly than they do other competitors. So Lacey, you're up first. What my question is to you?
Am I allowed to pass
No.
and go to someone else first?
No, this is not how this works.
Okay, go ahead.
Because-
Go ahead.
So, all right.
I'll allow it. Don't worry. As the attorney in the room.
Okay, no, it's not
Objection.
how this works. Objection.
Overruled.
So what?
Sorry.
So what my concern is, how big of a win was this for Janine getting that monkey off her back and getting a huge win? She's now won 2 in a row.
I think this was a big win for Janine. A lot of fans, like you said, we were going to that match, people not really thinking she was going to win. I think she played really well. She killed it in her second round. And then, she stayed positive, stayed confident. And I think that's what I like about her the most is her confidence. Like she was confident in herself to win and knew she was going to win. Therefore, she did win. I don't know if I agree with the tactics of Roxy. I don't think she necessarily managed well, but I think Janine won that all on her own by answering the questions she needed to answer. I don't know what else to say for 20 seconds. So I'm just going to talk about boneless wings and how delicious they are.
She automatically advances.
Which consists of many different sauces. You could do a honey mustard. You can do a buffalo wing sauce. You might do a ranch. Some people like a ranch sauce, and they're absolutely delicious.
You did get a couple
you-
extra points from me because of
You didn't get any from
figuring
me.
out a way to fill in the time.
Hey,
Well,
it's
Buck, I don't
yours.
need your points.
No, you don't. You really don't. You can. That's the way this show is you can use the time however you want. You don't have to talk.
You also don't need anything from this show. This show is just a bunch of nonsense.
I do need an ASMR video from you, though, with
Yeah,
the background.
Absolutely. Whatever you say.
That is something I do.
Today we're going to be talking about Wong Kar-wai, the world of Wong Kar-wai, featuring In the Mood for Love. Anyways.
No, you just have to
Buck.
like tap it with your nails and then just the pages just.
Unwrap the plastic.
Yeah.
I'll just
There
go
it
on
is,
mute
there it
and
is.
enjoy the show.
Okay, moving on to our next topic. Brandon, this is up for you.
Oh,
You previously were on a team with Jader. In that match, some would say you carried that team through that match. How would you grade Jader's performance? And has he really grown as a competitor since then?
oh wow. Okay. Well, definitely. I my back does hurt a little bit from carrying that team quite a bit. But it's okay because I'm getting help for that. I'm going to a physical therapist and it's working out great. Jader overall, I'll give his performance a B. I can't give anyone an A if they don't win. He's got a solid B. I think he played well. He showed some improvement. I think when he played Tom in the tournament last year, he had a perfect round 1 and a perfect round 3, but totally floundered in round 2. And he came out a lot stronger with round 2, and he had more consistent gameplay that I think over a long period of time, if he has a few more matches this season, perhaps when the tournament comes around, I think that will, just like the law of averages, it'll carry him out a little further in the tournament. Like the numbers will all align up to where they need to be. If you're talking like a statistical, like a Moneyball type analysis type guy, if you play a certain level of gameplay, you're going to see a certain amount of results. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough to get him the win over Janine because she just played a little bit better.
Ooh, nicely timed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the whole point of seeing your time is you can.
But did he talk about buffalo wings?
No, he did not.
Absolutely not.
No, he did not.
That's definitely a negative one.
Moving on to Thomas Harper. So, Thomas, Jader is a faction mate of yours and a fairly new faction mate as you are a rookie this year. What do you see as a potential hurdle for Jader that he needs to clear to take his game and his knowledge to the next level?
So Jader impresses me top to bottom. Outside the Schmoedown, he's working to become a first responder. He's got a daughter. He's juggling probably more than most Schmoedown competitors, and yet he's still playing at a very high level. I think where he could use some improvement, and I think he knows this as well as anybody, is his confidence level. I watched him, and Kate this year is doing a great job with this sort of thing. It's just she can't be in his ear during the round. But you saw in round 2, I think there was some regret in him spinning away from monster movies and landing on thrillers. It was a tough round. I sat there. I don't think I got a single point in that round, but you sort of saw the reaction on his face, even though he had a great round overall. Checking down, and I think he gave up a steal to Janine. Like he's wearing that on his sleeve. I think if he can steal himself.
All right, that's it.
Sure.
I was like, all right, I'll give him
objection.
I'll give him a second or two.
You got the wrong person to put a time limit on.
Yeah, the lawyer.
Speak faster. No,
all right, moving on to Sabrina. So now that Janine, she's on a 2-game win streak that she did beat the Warfather last season in a pay-per-view match, by the way. So with this match, she's 2 in a row. Who would you like Janine to play next and see if she can maybe potentially carry that momentum to maybe getting to a #1 contenders match?
Okay. All right, I'll start right now. So I think it'd be really interesting to kind of, first of all, not only match up someone who has her level of gameplay, but also a personality. You really want to see something like that shine through with the two of them. So I think a really great competitor would honestly be Video Drew, who is somebody that I think is just as impressive as Janine. I think both of them have spent enough time in the league where they know what they're doing. They know the gameplay, obviously. They really flourish in that way. But also, they have such a grasp on the character work that I feel like it could be one of the most entertaining matches that we watch. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that people talk about for a long time, where it's like, you just need to see these 2 stars play. Pun intended, I guess, for Janine. So that's something that I think could be really interesting, and I would hope to see going forward. I also would just love to see 2 female competitors in general go up against each other, because the 2 personalities, like, clashing, I would love to see, especially with Video Drews.
Anytime. All right, pretty good there. Pretty good. See, and if anyone noticed, the clock does not start until you begin speaking. So you could take a few moments to compose yourself once you hear that prompt, and then once you start talking, that's when the timer starts. So moving on here, we got 5 minutes, 5 whole minutes where everyone can talk at once. All I want to hear is everyone's general thoughts on the match. What were some of your favorite moments? Do you want to see maybe them have a potential rematch, and maybe some things in the match you weren't the biggest fan of?
And just a reminder, everyone has a mute they can use at any point. If people are talking too much and you want to be able to stop people from talking, and you can derail them for 10 seconds, the floor will be yours. There will be a timer on the screen.
He's the one that won't shut up. Talking about himself.
Well, at least he recognizes his faults, right? Or are they faults? So, but just a reminder, you do have a mute that you can use. So
I'm going to mute out of the gate. You know what? I thought this match was great. It was a great back and forth slugfest. It ended on a 5-pointer. Unfortunately, it didn't go the Den's way and Jader's way, but he proved that he can slug with anybody in this league. So Jader, I think, loses nothing in this match other than the 1 point on, in terms of the standings and his record. I know he took the loss hard personally, but he got right back up. We were texting afterwards, and he's right back.
He was winning the whole game, by the way.
Also,
That's the crazy part. He was winning the whole way.
Well, because he was picked out of a crowd, so this is different circumstances as well. That's something that I think is really interesting to add to the legacy of Jader, and that's why this is even more impressive as he's climbing his way to the top. The way that he was found, picked out of a crowd, playing that game, that was the most interesting.
Yeah, he's one of the most unique stories in the entire Schmoedown, and I think for our faction, we sort of rally around that energy that he brings.
Yeah, but you can't forget also that Janine was also a fan first, so it's great. A lot of us were, so it's great to see two fans come up, make their way through the league. You know, Janine's a veteran, Jader's in his sophomore year. It was a really great match all around, and it's a really important match for Janine's career, kind of like you addressed with Lacey's question early on. Janine was not doing well at all. She had lost a number of matches in a row. She beat Warfather when she really, really needed to save her career. She now beat Jader, and she's halfway to a potential title shot. So our number one.
They also studied together. Really that was other really cool thing about the match, is that you had two people that knew each other really well, were on the same team, that studied together, that then were now enemies. That's such an interesting story in itself, that you have two people that know each other's weaknesses, you know what they're good at. And I know I heard from Jader, like, oh, this was on the wheel because, you know, Janine knew it was a weakness of mine, or like he put something on there. Like there was strategy behind the decisions they made that made the game even more interesting than them just playing through it, which is kind of cool to think about.
And I think that's the best kind of match.
I think having Kate and Roxy go back and forth as well, that's where the managerial aspect of this really shines through, when we have situations in the beginning and also at the end when, you know, people are calling other people out for certain reasons, talking about the actual match, talking about gameplay in there. I just think the way Kate's kind of shifted into this season is also something we definitely need to talk about, because her entire personality, she's getting serious, she's getting down and dirty and gritty. She does not care anymore. She is not like Midwest Mrs. Nice Girl. I know what it is. I'm from the Midwest, but
the new Kate.
It was amazing to see that new Kate.
Yeah, it's the new
she's
Kate.
Definitely there.
Yeah, and she after the match, she mentioned that something went down like that. We didn't have the full details, but I was like standing up clapping in my living room, watching her. Like, not that it affected Jader. Jader's a total pro. He would tell you himself he didn't have an eye on that. But it's like, nothing against her, but it's Bush League tactics. Like, if that's the way that you need to win, I don't like that. And good on Kate for calling her out.
Yeah, call her out and fighting for your players. And that's something that Kate definitely stands for. And Thomas and I have witnessed that, is standing up for who's on her team in a way that's supportive, but like, don't get in her way or do something wrong to one of her players, because she's going to come out as like the mama lion, the lioness, and really attack you. And we saw that in this match, because I don't know if you guys felt this way, but at the end of the match, when she was giving her like post-show stuff, I was nervous. I was afraid that like mom caught me doing something bad and I was about to get yelled at. Like, that's how she looked pissed.
And it does no good. It does no good to Janine.
I think mute.
Yeah.
I'll mute. That's one of the most interesting things, is that she was able to break out. This is obviously one of the first matches that we've seen her manage this season. And the personality going back, where she had her fanny pack and she was pulling out food for everybody else, versus now, it's something completely different. Her head is in the game. People cannot argue against that anymore with Kate. This is something completely unprecedented, and I'm excited to see what she does going forward. Obviously, we know Roxy's really great with her motivational speeches. That's known. But seeing Kate bring that fire, bring that heat, that was the standout for me.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
use
she's
my
not
mute
playing
now.
around. Oh,
I was waiting for that one.
This wasn't just an example of the evolution of Kate, but the evolution of the Schmoedown overall. People, this is really war. The factions are taking this super seriously. They're lying, they're cheating, they're stealing, they're doing whatever it has to take to win these matches because the points really matter.
Mute. Kate is the best manager of all time. She fights for her people and owned this match. And I think Jader's going to be a great player moving forward. This is just the beginning for him.
You know, the Den started and ended that round. I'd like to point that out. That was nicely played.
I just want to say that is the most times we've had anyone use a mute, because most of the time we get one per episode. We got 3 right there.
You've got some. You've got
I'm
some.
utilizing that.
No, 4.
You got 4 Schmoedown tacticians here.
This is the first time someone said, you know what, let me start the very first round with just muting everyone right
And
off.
ended. We started and ended.
And
That's
ended.
right.
Yeah.
You've got 4 Schmoedown tacticians here. We're not going to take a rule and not exploit it.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
spent all day reading the rule book looking for things to exploit.
Yeah,
Because we
this
have-
definitely has a rule book. It's been published. You can all find it on patreon.com/ we don't have a Patreon. But we do have a Streamlabs, by the way. You can plug in there for streamlabs.com/ Schmoe Me The Money. You could donate and we'll read off your comments. You can also just comment in the chat and we'll read off of there. But if you do it through Streamlabs, we will profit off of your comment. So think about that. But now we're going to go on to.
Are you saying that in a good way or a bad way? You're like,
Unclear.
we will make
Watch yourself.
Just remember, the moment someone says, hey, there's a Streamlabs, everyone knows exactly what the plug is. So might as well just be really upfront with it, right?
Got
Gotta
it.
do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, we're now going to move on to round 2, which is Lacey here on the show, friend of the show.
Thanks for
now,
spelling my
versus-
name right. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Because in my match, they did not.
I had to double check.
That was really rough.
I
I was like, of course.
I was like, all right, let me look like 3 times. I want to make sure, because that's the last thing.
The one and only GILLERAN.
You learn.
All right.
Actually, shout out to Jake Berlin of CPOV for helping out with these graphics.
Awesome.
He's definitely been helping out a lot.
Jake's the best.
Dude, Jake.
Yes.
I should get a point for that because he is the best.
This is from my wife. She had an old fashioned earlier.
Nice.
Ooh, I should have made one
Good
before
start.
this.
So, but anyways, for round 2, between Lacey and gold leader Evan Bushkar, another very interesting match. Big, great, very strong opening for 2 rookies coming into the league. And we're not just saying that because you're here, Lacey. But
I was going to say, what?
What? Yeah.
Okay.
But Brandon, we're going to start off with you. So, you know, both rookies had very impressive debuts. So, considering how many rookies had been brought into the league, especially in Star Wars, and how they've been expanding that division, does this bode well for the future of the Star Wars division?
I think this bodes really well for the future of the Star Wars division. We were having some issues bringing in people for Star Wars in the past. We saw that when Alex first won the Star Wars belt, when he won it off of someone who wasn't particularly good, but that's all we had to offer. And people were screaming to be like, retire the belt, retire the Star Wars division. It's over. It's done with. Last year's Star Wars tournament, it breathed new life into the division. We saw Andres Cabrera literally come out of nowhere and just obliterate everyone in his way up until his unfortunate loss at the championship. Not so unfortunate for the Stars. But anyways, now we're even seeing a similar caliber of player with Lacey, with Gold Leader, with Marie Wilson. We are seeing a new caliber of player, and I'm sure we're going to see Tom perform very well as well when it comes his time to play. But it's a whole new division. It is the Wild West. It is anyone's game. The Star Wars division is here to stay, and it is stronger than ever, and I can't believe that we're seeing these caliber of matches.
It's like the most positivity I've heard out of you, Brandon, in any single interview, and I like it a lot.
It's how I catch you off guard.
That's all right. He can get very negative once he puts that wipe in front of that filter. So, Thomas, here's another question. I know that you kind of were asked this a bit about Jader before, but so it's sort of the same kind of question here. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I wrote it down incorrectly there.
If he asks
So,
weaknesses, don't tell him anything, Thomas.
No,
Just
no,
sit there for the minute.
no weaknesses. Don't worry. With Lacey on screen right here, how do you think your faction mate did? And also, did you play along? How'd you do?
I did play along. I had my baby in my arms, so it was challenging in a certain way. That was like playing with a handicap. But no, Lacey did phenomenally. Let me tell you, like, she is dialed in. She went into that match on short prep against an opponent who had been prepping by his own accounts for a lot longer, who had been involved in trivia by his own accounts for a lot longer time, and Lacey performed as good as just about anybody in the league, and I was thoroughly impressed. I saw firsthand behind the scenes the kind of work that she put in. I've seen the kind of work that she's put in since then. And I'll tell you this, I would hate to be the next opponent that she has, because I have no qualms in making this admission. She's beaten me in matches that we've had behind the scenes within the faction. So that ought to tell you all you need to know about where Lacey is right now.
Very interesting to be so positive for someone who is terrible at taking positive
I
comments.
hate compliments so much. I'd rather you tell me I'm terrible, and I'd be like, whatever.
She stinks.
All right. Well, here's a question for you, Sabrina. You have a unique perspective on this out of everyone here. So, considering the win went to a member of your former faction, how do you feel Gucci might have looked as a manager to Bushgar in comparison to when you might have worked with him?
I think one thing about this match that kind of separates it from last season is the fact that it seems like Gucci did do his homework to kind of get people who were ready to come into the league. And I feel like there's a lot of people, the faction looks to be a little bit stronger than we were last season, because it's no joke. We've all talked about it. Wasn't the strongest in the entire world. And I think overall as Star Wars, the perspective that they probably have going into it is that kind of transition that the league is going through. I mean, a few years ago, there was that argument about retiring Star Wars. Now these matches are insane. These rookies are coming in. There's no margin for error. Like, if you miss a question, it's like you're down. It's not like one of the other matches we might talk about a little bit later. It's so crazy how something like this, everyone comes in and is such an expert and they're just excelling at everything. So obviously I know he has his dossier. He has all of that. I feel like he did do his homework to kind of get Gold Leader ready for this match.
How dare you? I've never.
I think you pronounced it wrong. It's dossier.
Is it dossier?
No,
dossier.
He completely
no
gets
idea.
it wrong every single time. No,
I've heard it said like 4 different ways. No joke.
No, you said it right, and Gucci is a dummy. So
there's a much more important question though than how to pronounce dossier, and that is, Dan Benthausen wants to know: did you get that from IKEA?
I did get it from IKEA. That's a sharp eye. Give him a point or two.
Is that a Billy bookcase?
I couldn't tell you.
It's the square one. I have that one in my bedroom.
I couldn't tell you the
They don't make them
name.
anymore. That is an old school one. They don't make
a collector's item
with
filled
the
with collector's
frame
items.
and then the thin inside.
Yeah. Jesse.
I also can't wait to finally see your debutette.
We got dossier, debutette. Whatever.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
It's a mini debut, a debutette.
Yeah. Lacey.
Yes.
Let's talk about the results of your match. Now, having gone up against Bushgar and kind of seeing what he's made of firsthand, who else would you like to see maybe him potentially try and take on in his next match? I'm assuming that you happen to have kind of done a little research on the other members that are in the Star Wars division, new and old. So
who should Evan take on?
Yeah, who would you like to see Evan take on? Both either because sometimes people have that feeling of, well, at least I lost to someone that became a champion, or I want to see that guy get taken down by someone. So I'm interested in your position.
Well, I'm a big person about putting energy into the world that you want returned back to you. So I don't know if I want someone to take him down necessarily. I think we had a really fun match and people really enjoyed it and were entertained. I think that Evan is a great player, and I knew going into that game that he was going to be very good, and I studied really hard. I wish I had more time, but I didn't. But that being said, I think he's a good player, but but so am I, and he just played better than me. But that being said, I'm really interested to see the outcome of the match they had brought up, which was him versus Marie. Because I feel like there's a lot of talk around Marie. There's a lot of talk of what she's capable of and what she can do. And I watched her and Sean's match, and I kind of saw that match as Sean lost that match. She didn't win that match. So I'm interested to see if her against someone like Gold Leader, who performed very well in his first game, and I know from before even meeting him, he's very good.
Oh.
My time's up.
All right, cool. Well,
I finally get to talk about something I know about.
I only get a minute.
So just to let you know, Jesse has in fact copywritten the word debuette.
I'll allow
Dom
it.
here with his weird takes still.
Hobo.
However,
furniture. You wish you had
have-
this hobo furniture.
we have in fact moved on from the wing discourse to the shelf discourse. So let's
I'm
see what
okay with
happens
that.
in round 3, right, guys? Peggy, by the way, believes that Thomas should be the one to avenge you. So I know
Nobody
you're
needs-
putting out.
Nobody
don't
needs
think
to
he needs to
avenge
avenge.
Lacey.
I don't think
Yeah.
he needs to avenge me. I can handle it all on my own.
She's got
But
this.
I think I just want to see what Evan's capable of after playing him. I think he's really funny to watch. So I think he's going to be funny in whatever match he's in.
All right, cool. Now,
As long as he's got that dumb jacket.
wish you said that during the round. That would have been a point.
Oh,
But
I'll save it
I
for
mean,
the next
now-
round.
Yeah, or the next 5 minutes, man. But now, once again, just like round 2, that's how this main crosstalk area kind of goes. Just general thoughts on the match. What were your favorite parts of it? And Lacey, obviously, you have a unique perspective because you were part of the match. But yeah, just basic thoughts on how you think the match went, what you think might be the most exciting aspect of it, what you like to see happen as a result of it. Maybe some of you guys who aren't Lacey, or even Lacey, like who you might want to play next as a result. So just go ahead.
I'll give you 2 words: Clint Howard. That was one of my favorite moments in any Schmoedown match, and I say that without an ounce of bias because it was the Den or it was Lacey. That moment where you answer the question correctly, Christian's not quite done reading it, he doesn't hear it or it doesn't process, and then you say it 15 extra times. I want that on a
super pumped
t-shirt.
about that answer because when we were quizzing Thomas, you had asked me that question early on, like one of the first study sessions we had ever done, and I couldn't pull the name. I knew who the character was, I knew who plays him, but I couldn't think of the name. So as soon as he said Rakili and started spelling it out, I was like, I know exactly who this is. So I was super pumped. But since it's my match, I can start at round 1. So starting with round 1, Evan and I were getting used to it. We didn't really.
Oh,
Yeah.
So mute again? Okay. Well, I'm gonna go based off of what you guys said. I agree with the Clint thing. That energy was palpable. You were ready for that question, and that was really exciting to be able to see that. I also think when we're talking about the exchange, again, everything I said about Kate, and I was gassing Kate up, I still feel the exact same way. The exchange.
No one cares
feel
about
like
the exchange.
the
Let's be
player
honest.
exceeded the managerial aspect of it. Obviously, like Gucci just hops in and he's just like that personality. He says a few words and then he comes out. Gold Leader stood out because even with all of that, he still succeeded with his gameplay. And obviously, they did talk about quizzing the rookies, and that's probably something that made Gold Leader stand out to them.
Well, that's what Dagnino did with his dossier, is that he wanted to find players that he didn't have to manage. If he could find players that he thought were the absolute best at movie trivia, that he doesn't have to say anything to, and they could still find a way to win, they would make him look like a genius. Oh, I took her microphone out of her ear. And that's the type of con man that he is, okay? That's what he does. He is a con man. He's conning us all right now. Somewhere right now, he's watching us at home.
And let me tell you, don't let
him.
Gucci or the Barbarian take too much credit for this find in Gold Leader. Evan certainly made his appearances on after shows and talked himself up. But behind the scenes, I was talking quite a bit to Barbarian. I didn't know where I was going to land, but we were talking, and I said,
"Why are you talking about opponents to other teammates, man?"
look, this is all I didn't know where I was going to go. Kate hadn't talked to me, and so
They used your
and
clip
Craig,
in the promo. I was like, why are they using my teammate's clip about my opponent in my promo? What kind of decision was that, Christian? He was like,
Well,
yeah, I'm just
I'm
going
gonna
to
mute
really
to
not
finish
go
this
into
point.
here.
I'm going to mute
Yeah,
to finish this
faction
point.
on faction
Oh.
fighting.
All right.
Right here.
So I pointed the Barbarian and Gucci towards Gold Leader. I don't know that he was on their radar at all. They saw him before I talked to them as this online trivia guy that had a lot of mouth on him. But I pointed him. I had respect. I still have respect for Evan. He's
Did
a
you buy
great
that dumb
player.
jacket for him too?
I did not. That unfortunate purchase was somebody else's fault.
I like it. I like loud clothing. I don't like to
Oh,
wear
I'm just
loud
making
clothing.
fun of it
Everybody
'cause
knows.
he's
I
wearing
love
it.
black. I love black. I wear black turtlenecks all the time. When somebody comes in, I'm just like, yo,
You're
that
giving her
energy.
points about what she likes to wear.
Everybody knows it's that signature look. It's that black turtleneck. But also, when somebody comes in looking like a disco ball, I'm like, hell yeah, do your thing. Go for it. Like, who am I to say? Who am I to judge about the outfits? But the gameplay was there. And I do like what Brandon said earlier about Gucci. Gucci is all about the camera. He has other people working behind the scenes. And I kind of like, it leads me to wonder, like, who's there for Gold Leader? Who's he studying with? Is this all on his own? If it is, I am thoroughly, thoroughly impressed.
And he's got a tough draw if indeed he plays Marie, and if whether it's in the
Mute.
tournament or not.
You're gonna mute?
Brandon's muting.
I'm muting. Listen, Clint Howard is a once-in-a-generation acting talent, okay? He's just like Ron Howard, except he's Clint. Totally different variation of the Howard clan. And you can't buy acting chops like that. And that is why his performance in Solo: A Star Wars Story is one of the greatest in the history of the franchise, maybe even in the history of fantasy science fiction.
And that's why that question was the best question of the day.
That's worth a lot of points. I agree totally with that take. I also support a push to get Clint Howard to join the Den and maybe increase our Star Wars presence here, or what. I feel like he would be just oddly good at everything. You'd throw him into an IG match.
I do not know who Clint Howard is. I don't know who Clint Howard is.
Mute.
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
It's going.
God, I hit my 5-point question. That's all that matters because it was my debut match. And I didn't get my full 10 seconds, but I'm awesome.
Yeah, no,
You
fine.
did.
you got him.
I'm trying to multitask here, so
I believe Clint Howard is Ron Howard's brother.
Oh, come on.
It is.
He's got a lot of
I don't like
forehead real estate.
nepotism and like
He's
Hollywood
Ron Howard's
connections.
brother. Ron Howard. Ron Howard directed Jim Carrey and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and he said, "Hey, Clint, you're my brother, and you already look like a Whoville guy. So why don't you just go in there and be in that movie with him? All right." So that's Clint Howard.
all right. Moving on to our next round, Brandon Hanna versus Eric Zipper, which before Friday was a very good contender for match of the year. So Thomas, I want you to forget about that Star Wars match. Put that out of your mind. Put your mindset where you were Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. Is that a match of the year candidate, Hanna versus Zipper?
I don't have to go back in time because I think it absolutely was a better match. The questions were harder top to bottom. I enjoy seeing a slugfest. I enjoy, and I don't say this because Brandon is on the screen here, but I enjoy seeing somebody climb back into it when they're down. Brandon, you said the other day you thought you were mathematically out of it. You were waiting for the win to be called by Christian and were surprised that it wasn't. I wasn't the same way, but I was like, man, 6 points. I don't know that I've seen a comeback like that. And then you knock the third round out of the park. That for me is the kind of back and forth match that I want out of a Schmoedown match. Quite frankly, the Star Wars match, we'll get into it, it's a home run derby. They're knocking softballs out of the park. They're knocking the cover off the ball. Hanna and Zipper was the kind of match that the Schmoedown was built to showcase. Two folks that know their stuff, that have slippages at times, but at the end of the day, I think the better player came out on top.
Interesting.
Give him all the points. He won.
Imagine if he was just like, he really sucks.
Yeah, it's just boring. I turned it off.
As you could tell from Brandon's face, he does take compliments well.
I don't.
He's like a golden retriever. Like it's like, oh, compliment me.
All right, moving on to Sabrina. So Eric Zipper, when he first started, probably wasn't the most good competitor, but he has steadily improved with each match. How far do you think he can go this year? And with Winston, do you think they patched things up, or do you think that was just kind of a thing to kind of throw us for a loop because we've already seen Kelly and Chandru kind of go against Winston?
I think they 100% patch things up. I think they've had this relationship that they built on since the moment that they stepped into the Schmoedown. And a bond like that, sometimes you just can't get rid of it. You're brought back to that person. I feel like they are literally soulmates for the Schmoedown in that way. And it's really beautiful to see, honestly. And Eric Zipper, I think, is an interesting competitor because everybody wants to say bad luck. It just is in the background conversation of all of his matches. I don't think it's necessarily bad luck because we could say that about anybody. I miss my 5-pointer, and sometimes you know stuff, sometimes you don't. And in terms of Eric Zipper, he is an incredible player. That is something that people can't argue against. He is a really great player. I just think at this point, he got a little too confident, a little too fast. You still have to make sure your head's in the game. Whether you're down or whether you're up, you still have to be 100% in that mindset. And I think that was the difference there between Brandon and Zipper. And I'm excited to see where Zipper goes going forward. He's in multi divisions, and it's
time.
Okay.
Did you take a breath during that round?
Yo, I talk fast sometimes.
Yes,
I got that energy.
Excellent lung capacity.
Thank you.
Boy, have I got a career for you.
Moving on to Lacey there. So Brandon Hanna ends up winning this match after 9 questions in sudden death. I personally was on the edge of my seat. In the post discussions during that match, we did find out that Brandon's next match is against Robert Parker. And then on Friday, it was officially announced his next one is against Robert Parker. How do you think Brandon will do against the overhyped Spider?
Oh.
I'm going to be honest right now. I know nothing about Robert Parker except that he's a wonderful human being. So this is going to be a very interesting round. So he has a purple profile photo. I know that much about him. I know that he likes to study trivia, and he's on the dungeon. But yeah, I think based on what I saw of Brandon, I think he could beat him. I don't know anything about Robert again, except that he has a purple profile picture. But I do look forward to the fight or the match itself. I think what I saw during the Zipper Hanna match is Brandon's got to get out of his head a little bit. He got into his head a little bit in the second round. But once he hit his stride and got back into being confident and hit that Sebastian Hedgehog question, it was just like the perfect ending of the match. And I wish him all the luck against Robert Parker, the purple profile pictured trivia player on the dungeon. Buffalo wings.
We've moved on to shelves, Lacey.
Yeah, the discourse has shifted to a higher level.
Yeah,
now.
you're gonna
have
to
take IKEA.
Literally,
you have to take those wings and just kind of shelve that for a bit. We'll come back to it later.
All right, Brandon, you're the last one up here. So having gone up against a Zipper, you've seen how he's grown because you both kind of came into the Inner Geekdom around the same time. Who would you like to see him potentially play in his next match?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Who could Eric Zipper play? Eric Zipper is a very high caliber Inner Geekdom player, not quite as good as me. I know we went 9 rounds of sudden death. That might make you think, wow, we're equals, but we're not. I had a bad day. We're all entitled to a bad day. But hey, on my worst day, I was still able to overcome a 6-point deficit in round 3 and then go through 9 rounds in sudden death and take home the victory on a really deep cut Hobbit question, by the way, which probably only Robert Parker and Rachel Cushing also knew the answer to that question, but that's besides the point. We're talking about Eric Zipper here. What is next for Eric Zipper? I think he might take a small break from Inner Geekdom, but when he comes back, I can see him playing against maybe a Greg Alba or a Jesse Swift or somebody who's just starting out, maybe is 0-1, maybe has an more even record, or someone who's one of those veterans who can't quite seem to get through. He can play someone like that. prove his worth, and then slowly make his way back up to the top, which I've already started doing myself. Thank you very much. And Robert Parker is going down.
Robert Parker is going down. His final statement there.
I hate purple.
You hate purple. That's
No, he doesn't. That's a lie.
Purple.
Hate is a.
I would never be on a show that's purple.
Dun-dun-dun.
I don't associate with that color.
Yeah. Why are all people here? So, our open discussion here. I just want to hear everyone's thoughts on how much they love this match. Did they hate this match? Where would you rank this in terms of the best Intergeekdom matches of all time, as well?
I think it's an interesting discussion to have when we talk about this was match of the year or a match of the year contender for about 2 days until literally the next match that we're going to get into. That just goes to show about the league and where the league is heading in terms of Star Wars, in terms of Intergeekdom. I just feel like this lands a spot as something that's just like super monumental. It's the opposite of something like Star Wars. In Intergeekdom, you can really be far behind. No offense, homie, but you could be far behind and then claw your way back up to the top. And it's cool to see something like that. I'll let somebody else talk.
Yeah,
I'll use my pause thing right now.
Well done.
Okay, I just want to say I agree with everything Thomas Harper said earlier. Okay, my match is the match of the year, like plain and simple. Okay, a 6-point deficit comeback is way more interesting than a home run derby. Okay, I was the '86 Mets in Game 6. I was the 2011 Cardinals in Game 6. Okay, it's way more interesting to watch a team or a person fight their way back from a deficit and having to show grit and perseverance than just watching people hit home runs every other pitch until finally someone slips on a banana peel and accidentally hits the foul, just misses the foul.
And really
pole.
quick, talking about the managers really quickly, I'll mute because I know I talked a lot earlier, so I'll use my mute on this one. Talking about the managers again, Winston came in, he was just a little bit too cocky. Luckily, Roxy was able to level Brandon, keep him centered, keep him in the game, keep him slightly focused, clearly a little bit shaken. But Winston, they counted their win a little bit too early, even though they were saying that they shouldn't rest on their laurels. They definitely did.
Yes, I was shaken but never stirred.
I would say that the thing that got me too, it's not just about watching somebody get a question wrong. Like that in itself is not necessarily entertaining, but the difficulty level top to bottom in that match to include, and especially the question that it ended on, I think was head and shoulders above where that Star Wars match is. I'll save those comments for the next round. But that, to me, that's what I want to see. I like seeing players struggle and then make that pull. I like seeing players struggle and in the heat of the moment not be able to come up with it. And so to watch 9 rounds to decide this thing tells you all you need to know about the level these two competitors played on. And I got a lot more enjoyment out of that match than I did at any point in the Star Wars.
Yeah, I think both of them played really well. And any match where there's a back and forth and it's not a complete blowout is going to be way more exciting than one where, like the Saul match where he won by like a lot. It's not as entertaining as the back and forth of, oh, can they come back? Can they win this match? Oh my gosh, they've done it. They're now tied. That's the kind of match that I prefer to watch over an easy win from someone.
And I also like the fact that
it was going to be a blowout, though. It did really seem like that in round 1 and round 2. It didn't get till the midway point when Eric Zipper was answering his 3rd round questions where we realized, oh, this might not be a TKO.
And that's where it got good.
And that's exactly. That's where that came in.
Because miracles happen, people, okay?
I'll use my mute now.
Sports?
I'm going to use my mute. I also have to say that I really enjoyed like the talk afterwards about the wheel strategy. That's something that just doesn't exist in the Star Wars division. And for me, it's a huge flaw in the division that I can talk about later. But to watch as you give him DC, there's clearly strategy behind that. There's metrics that went into that decision, and then watch him handle it deftly and put you in a hole that you had to climb out of. I was like, that's a good ingredient. I know you didn't like that, but that's a good ingredient for a great match. I think it makes your comeback that much more impressive to overcome a performance like that in round 2.
Yeah, and I think it does make great discourse, like you said, wheel strategy. He spun opponent's choice. I gave him a slice that didn't turn out to be the best slice to give him. I had my reasons. We talked about it as a faction, but it ended up not being the best decision. It was a lesson learned. But you're right. That's something that can't happen in Star Wars. Be like, oh, no, I gave him Attack of the Clones instead of Revenge of the Sith. Well, he's watched both 100 times, so it doesn't really matter. So at the end of the day, like, I think a match that has strategy, a match that you really have to think about, a match that, you really scratch your head, like walk away, like, oh, did I make the right decision there? What do I do next time? When you can have those types of debates, a match that can add that type of inspiration and spark into the discourse of Schmoedown strategy, I think that is a far more interesting match. And I'm really surprised nobody's cut me off yet. So I'm going to talk about Howard.
I think compared to what I said about the Jader match, I think Roxy was a really good manager in this match and did a really good job pulling Brandon out of his own head and just kind of getting him to trust in his own abilities and his own intelligence and what he knew. That was an amazing thing to watch. It was like what you've been saying before, Brendan, with like all the sports movies. It was like that moment where the coach is like, you could do this, get it together.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Roxy's really good at getting big players of hers out of their own heads. Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
So far this year, she's 1-1 on that. That's a lot of very interesting points that we got to hear, especially from Thomas, about our next conversation here, which is Damon versus DIMALANTA. So obviously this was a very interesting match. The first time, and obviously there's an asterisk next to it because the digital space has given us the speed round that we have as opposed to the buzzer. So even with that, though, you take that asterisk out of there. This is still the first match we've officially had one player versus one player over 100 points, 51-50. With DIMALANTA eking out the win there at the very last second, Damon not able to remember Bly. And I guess Sabrina, you're not in Star Wars division. However,
I am not.
DIMALANTA is on your faction. So obviously, taking Thomas's comments out of the equation here, because I want to hear your thoughts about this. Could this not just be a candidate for match of the year, but is there a possibility that this could be in some way, shape, or form one of the greatest Schmoedown matches of all time?
After being on a faction with DIMALANTA, not only this season, but last season as well, I think his story is something that I find to be very inspirational. Like, he came into this, he won a few matches, he got beaten up by Andres, and obviously Ace ended up winning the tournament. He lost to Alex Damon. But I feel like DIMALANTA was so hungry, and that's how everybody's been talking about him, not just this season, but last season as well. Like, he's the hunter, he's coming back, and he's coming for blood. And that's exactly what he did. But I also think his kind of view of the game changed based off of being on the Mercs as opposed to the Finstock Exchange last season. Because now, like we saw, Dance Party, like Bibbs, that should earn me like 10 points right there. That's the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. That energy is what every single competitor needs. And he came in there knowing exactly what to do, keeping himself leveled because of Koi's great managerial skills. He won Manager of the Week. Like, come on. And yes, I had a point and I forgot it. I guess I'm done here. But go DIMALANTA.
Very interesting. She said a lot, didn't answer the question at all.
What was the question?
The question
What was it?
Could this be not just be a match of the year, but potentially one of, if not the greatest matches in the history of Schmoedown?
Oh, that was circling whatever. But because of his story,
it was obvious you were circling to say yes.
I was going somewhere.
You just forgot
it's
to say yes.
His story is the cool part.
I think that the point you were making was the answer to the question.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter because now we're on to Lacey. Lacey.
Is it about Robert Parker again? Because I don't know him.
Yeah, so anyways, about Robert Parker, he's very interesting. So on CPOV, after the match the other day, we had seen both Alex and Molly. We had heard them say that they actually found the questions to be fairly easy for the most part. How would you gauge the difficulty of the questions in this? Now, keep in mind, I watched that match, and I'm pretty sure I understood 3 words that were said the whole time. So,
I think the level of difficulty for a question is based on the knowledge of the person that's playing the game. I can imagine that Alex feels that way because a lot of those questions were repeats from previous matches from years ago, which they said they were going to do this year. I found that the questions were a little bit on the easier side than some of the questions that I got during my match. And then the questions I got in my match in my round were different than the difficulty of Evan's questions in his round. I think it's just one of those things of where the Schmoedown kind of falls. Is like some people are going to find those easy. Some people are not going to find them easy. But it's definitely something to be brought to people's attention of how did that round get to 50 questions? You know, yes, Alex and Andrew know a lot, but what was the difficulty level that led it to the 50 to 51 score? You have to kind of question that. And if Alex says they're easy, then I trust that they're easy. Like it's Alex Damon.
It's Alex Damon.
Yeah.
They were easy.
I saw.
They were
I was going to
easy.
say when I asked that, I
They
saw
were
Thomas
easy.
there nodding his head.
Yeah.
Brandon, I'm sure you played along and got all 51 points, just like DIMALANTA. Of course.
I never miss a question.
Yeah, never.
Never.
Only in your own matches.
Nope. I do it on purpose to build system.
Dun-dun-dun.
You're
but
supposed to
Damon,
edit that out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're live. So Brandon, Damon does have his rematch coming up very soon against DIMALANTA, but he also has a more immediate threat right now in taking on Barbarian and IG. Now, I know you're a faction mate of his, so perhaps you're helping kind of with the studying for IG specifically. How do you think this attention split may affect his ability to perform in either of the divisions?
I don't think the attention split is going to affect his ability that much at all. I know this was a tough loss to DIMALANTA, but Alex is a beast. He is a demon, literally a demon. You should be scared of him. I sure as hell am. But he is going to be ready to play Barbarian. He's already bounced back. No matter what happens with Barbarian is totally inconsequential to his rematch with DIMALANTA. I think without even studying, he's ready to beat DIMALANTA tonight if they were to play a match right now. I think Alex wins. I think Alex wins that match 9 times out of 10. DIMALANTA's a really, really strong player, but I have to stand by my faction mate, Alex Damon. And fortunately, with now us in the past being enemies, now that we're friends, I think we're just going to build each other up. We're just going to lift each other up. He's helped me get ready for Parker. I'm helping him get ready for Barbarian. And that is something that should scare the crap out of anybody in the Intergeekdom division that faces a member of the Stars, because Alex, myself, we are ready. We are hungry, and we're not going to let each other slip.
Right on the dot, 0-0.
Very good at that, getting it
very-
right at
yeah.
0.
Very good.
I appreciate it.
Impeccable. Right.
Yeah. Thomas, the one who appreciates Brandon's punctuality there in the round. So you've said that you were the one who wanted to beat Damon and actually take the belt from him. So the fact that he doesn't have the belt right now, is it a letdown that he's not the one that has the belt that you might be able to work to take the belt away from? Or are you still convinced that by the time that if your Star Wars career here takes off, do you think that it'll be Damon again by the time that you get to a potential title shot?
I faced Alex every year. I owe Alex and I owe Molly my spot in this league. If they hadn't spoken up for me on behalf of me, I don't know that I would be here. So I owe them a lot. But I didn't come in this league to beat Alex or to play Alex. I play Alex every single year. I've beaten him more than he's beaten me. And we have that sort of natural competitive friendship. But I came into this league to win, and whoever is holding the belt, if I make it to that point, if I climb the mountain, I'm happy to play them, to defeat them, and to take the belt happily in a box, bubble wrapped, or however they want to send it to me. So the fact that DIMALANTA won it now and may lose it, or may hold it to the end of the year, that's inconsequential to me. I'm here to make my name in this league and to play my way until whoever it is sitting across from me or digitally across from me and will bow down to me. Maybe not, but
another very
in a way.
punctual comment.
In a way.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to let everyone know here, we have a 3-way basically tie for second place. So this could get very interesting this last 5 minutes.
Yeah, just remember when this 5-minute round of course is over, the top 2 points earners will go on to just argue with each other over the Bibiani Oyama match. And
I'm
the
not
other
gonna
two
lie, I'm
will
rooting
be-
for Sabrina and Brandon because they're with each other, and I
like
think it would
that
be
as
way
well.
more entertaining.
Can I
you
donate
imagine?
some of my points?
You could just not say a word and then just see what happens. But I mean,
You know
that's a
that's
tactic that's
impossible
only
for
worked.
Mhm.
That's a tactic that has worked only once, and that was when Sean Sullivan convinced Chance Ellison to not speak, and then they both tied the game at the end. So yeah, yeah,
That's an
That's like that
accomplishment.
one game where like
So
yeah.
if-
The
choose not to
match,
take the money.
yeah, they were the
So
two
if
in the
none
final
of us
round.
speak, the last me, Brandon, and Thomas, then we're all in first and second place technically. So
That's
we all
right.
make
We
it to
all
the fifth round.
advance.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Don't give us any
then we have to
ideas.
figure out what the hell we're
Just
doing.
Lacey, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, Lacey, for the next 5 minutes, I want to hear you talk about buffalo wings with the bone in. No, we're going to just have the general kind of conversation here. I know now Thomas is dying to share his opinion in more detail on the full championship match. But everyone, I want to hear your general thoughts about the match, its place maybe in Schmoedown history. I understand to the Star Wars competitors it might be a little easier, but to some of us who don't know some of the words that were even spoken, how it felt watching that match unfold. Just, the general thoughts again.
I felt like I lost. I think I speak for a lot of fans. I say that not as a player, but as a fan of the league, as a friend of Alex's, and that's nothing against DIMALANTA. He played a great match, and that was well deserved. But there was this pit in my stomach. You could see it on his face as he comes back from the challenge. They're back into it, and in fact, the next question is the one that decides it. And I have been in that position, not literally, but I have been there where you cannot pull the answer. You're spinning tires in the mud and you just can't get there. And you could tell, like, the moment the light
His
bulb
brain
clicked on,
shut
it was
off.
too late.
Yeah. When they declared him a winner, his brain definitely shut off. And the question that they were challenging on is a difficult one because the way it was worded, initial approach, the question was it before they jumped to hyperspace or after they jumped to hyperspace? And I think that that's kind of one of those tricky questions that I would argue that Alex was right. And probably DIMALANTA should keep that belt wrapped in bubble wrap because he's just going to ship it back in a month when they play again. But other than that, it was a super entertaining match to watch. But I really wish it was in front of a live audience because that's where Alex Damon shines. He's very, very good at the buzzer stuff, and the crowd would have gone nuts. And I don't know how Andrew would have done with that.
Yeah, I know Alex, he's very calm, cool, collected. He's perfectly fitted for a live event, for an actual buzzer speed round. And yeah, we've all had those moments. I've had those moments, thankfully, mostly in my study sessions and not in an actual match where you just blank on something obvious, like in Inner Geekdom, like a Gene Hackman playing Lex Luthor or Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel. It's the easiest question in the world to you, but sometimes your mind just goes blank and it sucks. And when you're in sudden death and only have that one JTE, if you don't get it in that extra 15 seconds, you're done. And that's unfortunately what happened. And I talked a lot of crap when we were talking about my match, but the truth is this is probably the greatest match of all time because we're talking about a 5-round match.
I'm going to mute and disagree with you heavily here. I agree that it went high. The points were impressive. It was impressive to watch the two of them come up. But as somebody who's done Star Wars trivia for 6 years now, and this is nothing against the writers, these were easy to mediocre questions. I counted on one hand the number of truly, truly difficult questions.
The Kylo Crystal one, which wasn't even in the movie.
DIMALANTA's 5-pointer was a difficult question. There were about 4 or 5 that I think the two of them would honestly say were difficult. But at no point did you really see the two of them pause and really struggle. I think DIMALANTA burned a JT in the 5th round on the 5-pointer, and that was about the most you saw anybody pause. You saw Alex pause briefly on that Kyber Crystal question. I want more out of a match. I want you to challenge the players as much as I want to see players get questions right. There's a reason why the regular season in baseball isn't a home run derby.
Kind of like what I talked about before. I think coming out of this, I still have the same mindset going in where I absolutely love DIMALANTA's story from start to finish. I do think he's going to be able to hold on to that belt going forward. I'm not just saying this as his faction mate. I'm saying this as somebody who He knew what he was doing when he was going into this match, and he also stayed cool, calm, and collected. He had a completely different mindset with Koi, and I think that showed through that entire match. Even when, imagine, Alex is announced as the winner, he didn't get deflated immediately. He's like, wait, for a second, like I just want to do this, and he got right back into it the second they got the game rolling. I just feel like from his reaction, from his like prep going into this, I do think that he's going to be able to hold on to this belt. I do think this is one of the greatest matches of all time. Even with the questions, I can't speak on that because I didn't know a lot of those. But I think overall, you watch the games for something like this as well. You watch it for someone like a DIMALANTA because he comes into this and he pours his like heart and soul into it, and it just shines through every single question. The way that he answers it, his reaction, and his first conversation with Koi after he finally won, I had tears in my eyes. It was such a special moment, and that's truly what the Schmoedown is.
Do I still have my mute?
Yeah.
I would like to use it. So I will agree. As an Inner Geekdom player, I did notice that the questions were on an easier side compared to the matches we've seen of late, compared to the matches we saw in last year's tournament. However, to me, that doesn't take away from this being potentially the greatest match of all time, because we saw 5 full rounds plus 7 rounds of sudden death before a player missed a question. Even if the questions are easy, that is next to impossible to do because someone normally slips up. But both these guys kept their composure, they kept their cool, and they made it one of the biggest slugfests in Schmoedown history.
But when a large percentage of those questions are repeats, the odds that somebody's going to slip just goes down that much lower. When 8 of your 10 first rounders are repeats that both of them had, what do you do with that?
Howard.
And with that, the top 2 points earners.
I didn't even use my
Thomas
mute.
Yeah, I was waiting for you. I thought you were about to use your mute and then
I
just
wanna
get ahead. And
see-
it would have been.
Brandon and Sabrina argue each other, so I was like, I'm gonna let them go.
Yeah,
And
I can
Thomas came in
deduct-
at the
you
end
can-
and ruined it all for
You
us.
can deduct. What do you need? 11. You can take some points away from me. I'll also accept Lacey and Sabrina. I would gladly sit aside and
I like how
watch.
we're all cool
Unfortunately-
with anyone else
Yeah.
playing. Like, we're all like, yeah, I want to see you guys.
Either
do
way,
it.
I'm getting screen time.
Unfortunately, we're the only ones that will rig our own game, and we're not doing it here. But thank you so much, Brandon and Lacey. Brandon, I don't know what you're going to do right now. Lacey, we're going to put you backstage.
I don't know what to
hand.
do with my hands.
So, so
Oh no.
yeah, goodbye. So, Brandon, you can just kind of sit there and don't say a word.
Just shush. Anna, just shush.
Just shut
I'm
your
saying
mouth.
it again. Oh my god.
So, anyways, we're going into Lacey. Lacey is backstage. That is where she is. She knows this.
She's
So,
in the abyss. The
You
abyss.
have to disclose it for everybody. It's like, guys, she knows where she is.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so this match it was technically the undercard to this match because this was a Schmoedown Throwdown, so technically there's only one main event. I disagree. I think Bibbs versus Oyama is a main event type of match, and that's what we got out of this match. It was back and forth the entire time. Paul was on fire. I'm pretty sure he was almost perfect up until round number 3. So it was very entertaining there. So I'm going to go to you, Thomas. What is the likelihood of, with this match, it puts Paul on a path to a #1 contenders match? And will Paul have a belt by the end of the year?
So I'm going to give you a different probability, and that is 100% that I almost bankrupted myself buying soap by the end of that match. But I also think the odds are just about that high for Oyama. I'm telling you, I was just thoroughly entertained throughout this entire match. I had the privilege of meeting Paul as I interviewed and talked to different managers and faction mates before the draft, and Paul and Oyama was one of the most impressive folks that stood out in my mind. I mentioned he had some music playing in the background. He corrected me about what song it was and what track it was, what movie it was from, and shut me up and put me in my place. But he also put a lot of folks on notice in this league that he was virtually perfect in that match. Outside of Merle and Collins, I don't know that I've seen very many nearly perfect matches in the singles league. And given the fact that I am lucky if I score more than 3 to 5 in a singles match, that is thoroughly impressive.
Yeah, I was quite impressed. That this is the Paul that everyone loves to see, not the one we got at Spectacular in season 6, the one that just didn't look like he was on the same level.
The mustache.
It is the stash. It is a power stash. There is no doubt about that. Moving on to Sabrina. So Bibbs, we have heard that Bibbs held Andrew study quite a bit for his match. So he spent a lot of his time, a lot of his focus, a lot of his energy on helping Andrew. Do you think that might have affected his gameplay in this match? Like, do you think he wasn't completely focused on prepping for Oyama, and then maybe that's why he lost the match?
Absolutely not. I feel like it's been very clear. Bibbs is a wealth of knowledge. I feel like he is able to also help DIMALANTA. We're able to have that faction support, but he is able to focus on himself. It was just, you know, the questions he got, like he got that La La Land question that I thought was worded super interesting. I hit it, but who knows if I was underneath the lights, who knows if you would have, because it just sounded a certain way. So that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's kind of what I talked about with subjectivity. Sometimes you get questions that you're going to hit immediately. Sometimes you stumble a little bit. I don't think any of that had to do with DIMALANTA at all. I do think that Bibbs is going to come back so much stronger. He has so many opportunities, obviously, with Shazam. Paul just took it this time, and honestly, it was a well-deserved win, 100%. Paul had the fire going into this match, and he did not let himself falter at all. I think Bibbs is always in good spirits, and that's something that even when he misses one or two, but in this one, you couldn't afford to miss one or two, unfortunately. So it just didn't go his way this time, but I don't think it had anything to do with DIMALANTA.
Oh boy, look at that score, Jeff.
Look at that. Look
You're going
at that
down,
score.
Thomas.
It's
I'm ready.
That is crazy. Almost as crazy. Just reminding everyone, there is no mute in this crosstalk here. You only got 3 minutes now. That's just the two of you, with Brandon kind of sitting behind you as like your mute manservant right now. And we do, like I said before, we do have a Streamlabs. You can donate in there. You don't have to. Just wanted to make sure I plugged it again one more time, since we forget to do that a lot. So
yeah. And moving on to our final section of today's event. Just want to hear everyone's thoughts on this match. Just like, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? I want to hear what everyone thinks is Paul's path to a #1 contenders match and or a title. I just want to hear what you think that path may be.
Oh, I want to see him play Bateman. I want to see him, obviously, whoever wins between Riley and Bateman. I want to see him play someone like an Adam Collins. I feel like he could easily take down Adam Collins. Paul Oyama had one of the most impressive debut rookie seasons that we have ever seen, genuinely, in singles. And also everything that he's doing in Final Exam, I feel like he found a perfect manager in Winston, which is obviously why he stuck into Swag. I love everything about it. I think he's on his way to possibly holding a belt like sometime this season or at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't think it was fair for anybody to count him out after last season. And quite frankly, I think that lit a fire under him. He had a fire when I talked to him, and we weren't talking singles, and that was readily apparent to me. And so I think, yeah, absolutely. I love Sabrina's point, the winner of the Bateman-Riley match, as much as that would, light a fire under our faction, because obviously Riley is going to put Bateman in the dirt there. That's a tough matchup for him, but I think that's the pathway, right? We talk about there being, a couple stepping stones. Bibiani isn't a stepping stone. This was a heavyweight match. In any other week, this would have been the main feature of the pay-per-view. The fact that this was the undercard with heavy air quotes around it is just insane to me. So I don't quite frankly, I don't know how the Schmoedown tops this entire week of matches as we go forward. And I say that knowing that I have a match coming up.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like we always have that conversation. We're like, oh, Brandon's match is incredible. Amazing match. 2 days later, another amazing match. Immediately after, another amazing match. It's just going to continue to top itself. And that's where the league is headed. But when we talk about Paul Oyama, another competitor that I absolutely love, Liz Shannon Miller, he's probably, now that they're not faction mates anymore, they can go head to head. I would love to see him play Liz Shannon Miller because she's one of my favorite competitors that's not in my faction. So there's so many different directions, and there's a lot of heavy hitters. I do think she's going to take it against Roka. No offense, Roka. Sorry. But That's what I want to see going forward. I want to see someone like Liz Shannon Miller, Paula Yama. I want to see these people come out on top. And I do want to see someone take down Adam Collins because he's been untouchable. Do I think it's possible? Like, yeah, 100%. Catch him on a bad day. I do want to see Adam Collins lose one match.
I'll tell you this.
Because no one's untouchable.
I'll tell you this, other than Collins and Merle, the focus that you saw out of Oyama should scare other players. He was laser locked in. And I think but for that tiny little gear slippage you saw on that single 2-pointer, I mean, he was like a precision guided weapon in that match. And you don't see that a ton in singles, even from very, very good players. And that to me wasn't an outlier, but it's a foreshadowing of what the rest of his season is going to look like.
100%. We've seen him absolutely kill it before, and I would expect nothing less than him to come back.
And we got
Hey! Wait, where is this Schmoe Me The Money in the annals of Schmoe Me The Money history? Is this the best?
the first time we've had 4 people, and I was like,
first time we've had 4 people. I think this might have been the most fun one. Hold on one second here. Let's bring
Back from Purgatory.
Oh, I was on my phone. Hi. Yay, Sabrina!
It was
Yeah.
fun sharing the screen with you guys.
It
We're
was-
all smart and good at arguing.
I could have sworn Thomas saw the points and was like, all he has to do is just keep talking for another 5 seconds.
I was like, let me
Just
get in
run
there
this
the last
clock
like
out.
2 seconds. Let me get in there.
He stopped and they were tied at 2:20, and she's like, oh, I just have to say one thing, don't I?
Just the
I
layup
was in
right at the
Purgatory
buzzer.
being like, who am I not following? And I was just going through.
Anyway.
Well played.
So there we go. Sabrina is the winner tonight. Thank you so much,
Yay.
everyone. This was
She won with those
This is
I
something.
wear black points.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
got her the win.
Once I talk about my black turtleneck, it's game over.
It is.
yeah.
I knew it from that
Absolutely.
moment. I was like, we're all done.
Yeah. As a reward, Sabrina, I will
No
offer you
told me.
moral
Yeah.
support. I will offer you moral support as you attempt to figure out how to buy an Agnes Varda tote bag.
I already got it. It's
You got it.
Yeah.
Nice. Good job.
Yep. I am just a freaking Criterion, anything Criterion. They have my whole heart. I know you're the exact same way, Jeff, the way you pulled out the Wonka Y. I'm so jealous of you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to all 4 of you for coming on tonight. It was an absolute blast. These matches were incredible to watch. It was great to see everyone discuss them. But before we kind of wrap things up here, Lacey, where can everyone find you online and what you're doing?
Yeah, so people can find me on the Resistance broadcast, my Star Wars podcast at RBATSWNN on Twitter. We have new shows every Monday and Thursday. We're the official podcast of StarWarsNewsNet.com. And you can find me personally at Lacey Gilleran on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Thomas, where can we find you?
At my super creative and unique Twitter handle there at Thomas L. Harper. That's not L as in loser. I'll tell you that much. I also have a very cool new podcast. Well, new-ish. It's called the Joint Geeks of Staff. And I along with several much more talented national security professionals, including like an F-15 pilot, State Department Foreign Service officer. We talk the intersection of sci-fi and national defense diplomatic issues. So we had an episode on The Mandalorian where we talked about the legitimacy of the New Republic in the larger sphere of the galaxy. Just some really, really neat discussions from some pretty cool people with
Sounds right up my
pretty
alley.
deep experience. So at the Joint
It does.
Geeks is where you can find that.
Yeah, we gotta
Interesting.
check that out. Brandon, where can we find you?
You can find me listening to Thomas Harper's podcast, apparently, but you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at BrandonHanna07. Also, youtube.com/BrandonHanna. I do mostly science and film related content. I've taken a couple weekends off, but this next weekend we're back with the periodic table, breaking down the science news stories of the week and learning a little bit and having a lot of fun along the way.
Nerd.
And also, you can find me
Friggin-
destroying Robert Parker and his purple thumbnail emoji.
He's got a
that
great
was,
purple profile picture.
profile. picture.
Glittery.
And
You friggin'
And
nerds.
Sabrina, where can we find you and everything that you're doing?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sabrina X Monica, also on Twitter at Sabrina on Film, patreon.com/Sabrina on Film. These two lovely gentlemen are a part of it, and we all just like hang out and talk about movies. It's a lot of fun. Also, the First Cut YouTube account. You can check out the Meaning of Podcast with me, Andres Cabrera, Robert Butler III, SEN, Cocktails and Casting with Ben Goddard. I don't know. There's a little bit of me everywhere, so check it out.
All right. Jeff, where can we find you?
You could find me here at GEOFF1106. That is my Twitter. On this channel, we do all sorts of fun stuff. Next up, we have on Thursday, we have our next installment of The Family Show. The Family Show is where we decided to have a retrospective on the Fast and Furious series. There's no reason why we need to talk about it right now. There's nothing like important to like try to get new views. We're just like, hey, let's just talk about Fast and Furious. So next up, we're going to be talking about the 2009 film Fast and Furious, when they dropped the thes and showed us that it doesn't matter how you title a film. All that matters is what the budget is for Vin Diesel to get that wax to make his head so shiny. Other than that, we have our Falcon Winter Soldier reviews on Saturdays. I believe this Saturday it's at 1 Eastern. We're going to be talking about the second episode. And yes, Zach, that is correct. You are on the Family Show. Zach is the one who helps us out so much with the scoreboard. You've met him; he's behind the scenes here. And other than that, we still got some other ideas cooking. We got some interviews, I believe, that are in the works, happening real soon. So yeah, that's it. Buck.
You can follow me here on Twitter at BrandonBuck88. Make sure to like this video, comment with what you thought about the matches. Also, if you have not yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're slowly growing this channel, trying to get our name out there in the Schmoedown space. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Schmoe Me Money. It's right down there at the bottom. Next week, we will have another fantastic episode discussing these amazing matches. As always, we appreciate everyone for watching. We'll see y'all next time.